And one day, I will let them know how successful you and I became, even though both of them told us we'd never amount to anything.
Yeah. You got it out.
Ooh, I could write a book about that. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another Woodbrew video. My name is Dylan.
And I'm Molly.
And in today's video, we're gonna be telling you guys our background and our story of how we actually got started in woodworking and then into YouTube.
Go ahead and smash that like button down below. It really helps our channel out with the whole YouTube algorithm. And then while you're down there, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Now, let's get started.
So in this first section, Molly and I are going to talk about our childhood, our exposure to making things in business and all of that nature. So we basically have polar opposites when it comes to this. So Molly, how was your childhood growing up as far as like exposure to woodworking and making and stuff?
I had no exposure to how to use a tool or tools in general. My dad was a restaurant manager with his family. We had a family business in Birmingham, and then he eventually became his own boss, his own owner of a restaurant. And then my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so I really had no exposure into making things. My primary focus as a kid growing up was sports, so I was all about sports. I played probably every sport you could think of, and I did it as a kid, but soccer really is the one that stuck. Soccer's the one that stuck. So that was my primary focus all throughout my childhood.
I think that's how you form such good discipline, because I was the polar opposite of that. And Molly's very structured and organized and can get things done. Like she can set one singular goal and then follow it out until its end and make sure that it gets done.
Yeah.
I'm like the complete opposite. I try to do anything and everything all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why we work so well together, because we're polar opposites in that realm. And I'm typically good at coming up with ideas, and Molly's typically good at making sure that we together actually do the thing that, you know, we came up with. So
I'm the project manager, if you want to say that.
So my childhood was a lot different. I grew up where my dad built stuff all the time. I was exposed to basic tools and woodworking throughout my entire life. It's not what my dad did professionally when I was alive, at least. He did it when he was younger, professionally. But basically, anytime there was a household project to be done, my dad did it. And I was typically the one like tugging at his shirt to see what he was doing. And I don't think that he had to do much actually teaching, simply because I was always observing all the time. He was really good about letting me observe and telling me things if I asked. He wasn't, it's something that I really admire about my dad and the way that he brought us all up, was that he really led by example, and something that I hope to do one day in the future too. All right, let's talk about high school and middle school era of our life, because all this is important. It may not seem important, but it is like leading into how we actually got started. It's important to see kind of where we were headed in that area of our life, and then how it ended up, you know, where we are today.
Oh yeah, it changed.
A lot.
A lot.
But like, again, polar opposites.
I was just thinking that like even in high school we were completely different.
We didn't meet until our sophomore year of high school, and that's when we started dating. But even before and after that, just complete opposites. I hated school. From day one, hated school. I was always the outcast. I was a skateboarder. In middle school, I basically spent every waking hour trying not to go to school and making like electronics projects and doing like skateboarding and all these things that really just made me kind of an outcast. I wasn't interested in sports. I played baseball, but that was it. I wasn't interested in the things that most kids were, and that continued into high school as well. So
my high school experience was typically what you would think of when going to high school. Like I played sports. I was very I wasn't into school, but I did all my work. Like I got my homework done, unlike you. Like this is when we're so separate and so different. Like I listened to my teachers. I did what I was supposed to. I was basically like the teacher's pet, if you wanted to say that. Like I was on track.
You were a good student.
I was a good student. I did what I was supposed to do. But I played sports all throughout high school and middle school, actually. I played volleyball and soccer in middle school, and then cheerleading and soccer in high school. Cheerleading freshman and sophomore year, and then soccer all 4 years. So I had like a schedule. I'm a routine person.
So I was like the rebellion all throughout school, because I just couldn't stand it. I had no attention span to deal with doing things that I really didn't want to do, or especially when there was times where maybe I already knew the information or knew enough of the information, and then I just couldn't focus, and I wouldn't want to be there at all. I would do anything and everything to get out of school, basically. And I always just felt like kind of it was a waste of my time. And I was always the rebellious kid, but for whatever reason, all the teachers and adults, not all of them, but majority of them, ended up actually liking me because of it in a weird way. Like I wasn't the kid who would yell and like kick and scream and be all like, I don't know, outrageous about not wanting to do something. I would have like an educated reason for not wanting to do something. I'd be like, this is just busy work. Like I could take this time and I could do X, Y, and Z with it, which would have been productive things. And it was hard for them to argue with me. Like one time I convinced the principal and my science teacher to let me build a well house cover for the well that went to the science building in the school, because they needed it done and they were gonna have to pay someone to do it. And I was like, look, I really don't want to do what we're doing in class. I'm capable of building that well house. Let me have like a week out of class to do that. And I did. I got a week out of class to build this well house. I was constantly looking for ways to make it interesting. So we got a new principal. I and most of the students there and most of the parents disagreed with a new system that he was putting in place. I created a website. I hosted it on the school's server because I had access to the computer room, and made a website that was a petition to go against what he wanted changed. I got like over 2,500 signatures, and also had like meaningful reasons that these people had to write. They had to write 300 words in order to submit their petition for a reason why they did or didn't want something. And so I was constantly just doing stuff like that, and I think because of it, I was either like people's best friends or they hated me. But typically teachers kind of enjoyed my rebellious nature. So we're gonna move on to college now, which honestly, looking at my notes, is basically the same thing as high school, just a lot of ranting. So if you wanna hear like our full experience and everything, you can check the link in the description below. There'll be an article that has like a full written out details of everything that we're saying, because I don't wanna just sit on here and rant about school. But to summarize college for both of us, I went to college not knowing what I wanted to do. Started as a mechanical engineer major, quickly found out I didn't really want to do that. I got a 2-year scholarship to a local community college through winning a science fair. I made a one-handed Xbox controller, which was pretty cool, but the school was honestly just terrible. I'm not even gonna name the name of the school, but I just had a really bad experience there, and just eventually we both kind of just phased out. But
yeah, I went for exercise science to the same school, so that was sciencey. Like I did anatomy and biology, which I actually really enjoyed. But then really quickly into college, we started this first business that we'll talk about in just a second, and that completely shifted my focus into graphic design. So
we both ended up on a graphic design sort of major course. And then eventually we got to a point where we were gonna have to start taking classes at like a campus that was like almost an hour away and commuting there daily. And we both were just so over it by that time. And as you'll know in a minute, we were starting our businesses at that point in time. So we ended up actually phasing out of college after like the second year. So during college, both Molly and I had part-time jobs. What were you doing?
I was a host at a restaurant, and I was only there for like maybe 6 months, and I transitioned to a retail job down here in our downtown. So I was kind of working 2 jobs at once, kind of phasing out the restaurant one, which was a lot of work. And I was also, having classes during that, so that about killed me. But
I was working part-time for a custom, like rustic furniture business. Although I was basically just labor, I did get to observe some of like the business practice of it. And at the time, like looking back, I don't really think that I knew at all whether or not it was profitable. I still don't know like how profitable it was or anything like that, but it was at least interesting to see that somebody else who was like me could start a business like that and do it, and it was motivating to, you know, see that firsthand coming to life. And I think that's what did drive us a little bit into that. And like we were on our way home one day. I think we were on our way home from school one day. We were riding in the car together. We saw this coffee table on the side of the road, just like it was like a brand new coffee table. There was nothing wrong with it. And I think I said something along the lines of like, as we passed it, like, why would someone throw that away? Like, you could just sell that on Facebook for $100. Like, why would you not just like do that?
So we turned around and picked it up.
Yeah, and we like painted it. We just like did like a distressed white paint, which was super popular at the time. And literally 24 hours had sold it for, I think it was $200.
Was that much?
Yeah, and that was like,
we're like, oh.
Yeah, we were like, oh, okay, we can do
this.
this.
Work.
So we, at the time, we both had part-time jobs. She was doing 2 part-time jobs.
I had one at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then school, and now we're doing this furniture restoration thing that we started. We called it Bay Furniture, and we rented a storage unit at a flea market because we like quickly ran out of space at home. So we got like 3 major things going on right now. We basically reinvested every dollar we ever spent. Ever made in Bay Furniture and in like our part-time jobs, and just building up either tools or furniture in order to resell. So I don't know if we ever really made much money at all. I mean, we were building up, you know, I guess equipment, but that's kind of what led us to be able to start our own custom woodworking business.
Because you can only paint and distress so many tables before you go crazy.
So during this time period of us doing the furniture restoration business and all of that, like I said, we had been accumulating tools, and we'd gotten to the point where I had a decent amount of tools at my house. It was just like, literally, we poured a slab of concrete underneath my parents' back porch, which before that we were just working in dirt, and we just had a bunch of our tools down there, and that was kind of our first little shop area. And I started making a little bit of like furniture and things for my mom, and like just experimenting. I remember buying a pocket hole jig. It was $100. And I just remember being like, Molly, I don't know, like it's $100. Like it was so much money back then. And we made like, I still have the piece of furniture that I made the first day I got the pocket hole jig out of pallet wood.
That console?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that is the first project. That's the first any piece of real furniture I ever made, and it was made with a pocket hole jig.
Which we still use.
The same one. Still crazy? To this day. And
so I think it's worth $100.
Still, like, it was just such a big investment at the time. And I remember thinking, like, gosh, I don't know, like, you know, are we like just throwing money away? Like, it's just so funny to think back, like, at times when money was just like really, really tight. And
well, I mean, we were kids, like we had part-time minimum wage jobs.
And any extra money we were spending on Chick-fil-A. So.
Oh, true. And the beach trips.
Yeah. Man.
They're good times.
So anyway, at this time we had a little bit of a shop set up, and actually started taking some of the commission work that my employer was getting home, and I would actually do some of the projects there. I did a handful of projects for him there, like really small stuff, like he got commissioned to do a bunch of cutting boards, so I did a bunch of cutting boards for him, some display racks, like really simple projects, but it like showed him that I could actually, you know, do some stuff on my own, which also was giving me experience in building stuff.
Right.
And at the time, I'm just like, you know what? Like, you know, we should just get a shop. Like, we should stop this furniture restoration thing. We should get a shop. Like, I'll just keep working kind of remotely for this guy, and that'll be able to like pay for the shop, and then we could maybe start our like own little business out of that. But at least we'd have the shop paid for, and so we started looking for a spot to rent.
And we actually found one, and it was a huge warehouse space in the next town over, which came with an office as well.
It was $650 a month, which is just insane.
Yeah. So it came with an office, the warehouse, I don't remember how big it was,
I think it was 1,000 square feet.
But it also had 2 other offices in the same building with a reception area and a kitchen, but we only paid rent for our office and the warehouse, and everything else was just a common space.
So we had this shop for $650 a month, which now seems like
a steal.
Yeah, a steal, but then we were just like, oh my gosh, how in the world are we gonna pay for this? So we ended up convincing the landlord to not make us have to pay the security deposit, and we gave him every dollar we had that day in order to get that space. We had no money left over. Like $650 was what we had to our name. And we might have had to like sell some things in order to get that. I don't remember.
Oh, probably.
But that seems like that would have been a lot for us to have at that point in time. And we gave it to him, which meant that we had 30 days with the building for $650. And that's how we kind of looked at it. We were like, we have 30 days. Okay, let's see if we can make another $650. Like, we weren't thinking, how can we make money? We were thinking like, how can we keep this building? That's literally all we were thinking about. And unfortunately, I only got like maybe 1 or 2 more projects from my prior employer. And then it just kind of got phased out. But we actually picked up just like a handful of local clients to do like some simple desk. One of them was this really cool like industrial desk, and another like wood desk. And those are just like friends of friends that we got through word of mouth. And that enabled us to be there for maybe like a month or 2. That might have paid for that much. And again, that was literally taking anything we made whatsoever and just paying rent. That's kind of how we ended up with our first major shop. And the funny thing is that when all that kind of happened where I wasn't getting much work anymore, just out of the blue, we were just like, let's make a YouTube channel. It's something that I always want to do. I've been making YouTube videos for, gosh, I don't know how many years. It's been almost 10 years. 9 years. I made my first YouTube video in 2011, which is crazy. I was in middle school and I made my first YouTube video. And at the time, I was a huge fan of Ben Heck. And I'll leave a link to his channel in the description below if you've never seen it, but he made all kinds of electronic projects, like gaming stuff. I was so into it. And he was like one of the few people on YouTube at the time who seemed like they were doing it full time. Like, and that was such a big inspiration for me for the next like literally, I don't know how many years, 5, 6 years after that. I always in the back of my mind thought, how cool would it be to be a YouTuber? So our first major project that we got was this like giant bunk bed that had custom fabricated ladders and all this stuff that we had to deliver almost 2 hours away and install. And we got this through literally just somebody cold calling this person who might have been interested in having something done. I remember I was pacing back and forth under my parents' porch on the phone for so long before I actually like made this phone call and ended up getting the job. And it was, gosh, it felt like we made it when I got the one job. We
got our first job.
Yeah, like the one job. At that point in time, I was like, we made it. Like, we got this. We can do this, you know. We're gonna make money. And we did. We made some decent money with that project. And it for real launched our local business. Like that project established us. And to be clear, that was our second metalworking project. The first metalworking project we had ever done was the desk, and the second metalworking project we had ever done was that bunk bed. That's it. And that's, there's one piece of advice that I have for any of y'all wanting to start something, it's that you have to say yes to things and then just figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah.
Like you can't at the beginning just know how to do things. If you wait around till you know how to do things, doing it yourself and like figuring all this stuff out before you like bring it public and like try to make a business out of it, like you probably are gonna wait too long. But you know, fast forwarding a while from there, we ended up, you know, actually pursuing YouTube seriously. We started making videos almost every single week. It's unfortunate because some of our best projects in my mind, like some of the things that I'm really proud of, were just before we decided to make the YouTube channel. Like that bunk bed would have killed it. Or like this desk or this dining table is beautiful, beautiful dining table. Just some of our best work we've ever done was just right at the beginning, right before we started YouTube. Maybe we should like bring some of them back. Like do like
another one?
Like remake the project.
Oh gosh.
I still have the SketchUp files from a lot of that stuff.
Wow.
So at some point in time during all this, Molly and I ended up kind of phasing out of school. We basically just decided at one point, not that we were gonna quit school, but that we were gonna take at least a semester off of school and see what happens if we went like full time doing what we were doing, which we were already working full time and just taking like night classes. But as you can imagine, you can only do that for so long before it's just like an absolute nightmare. We were trying to make rent payments month after month, and every single time we had to do something, a big test would come up or like whatever, and just kept getting in the way. And we both kind of mutually decided, you know what, we're gonna take a semester off and see if this actually works.
Yeah, and I remember I started doing like, I think I took a semester and everything was online just to see how that would work. And then I think we both were just like, let's just take a year off and see what happens. And of course, you know.
We never went back.
We never went back.
Which honestly at this time though was one of the most stressful, anxiety-filled times of my life. So I was dealing with a lot of crap from the school that we were attending. So as I was like kind of beginning to phase out of this, I was still under scholarship with the school. But the dean of the department that gave me the scholarship was just berating me, like just harassing me on a daily basis to come help him do things when it wasn't part of my like obligations of the scholarship. And at the time, again, you know, we're already doing school and we have this business that we're trying to run. And so I'd have to tell him like, look, I can't come today, I have work. And he eventually got to the point where he was threatening to take my scholarship away. Like he would call me the night before and say, I'm gonna take your scholarship away if you don't show up tomorrow. And he worked at a different campus that was like 45 minutes away from our house. So I'd have to drive there to do something. But he was a toxic human being, like a horrible person. I had a sit down meeting with him at one point in time to tell him, you know, why I wasn't able to fulfill his wishes that weren't even part of my obligations under the scholarship, and told him about our business plans and everything that we were doing. And he basically just trashed them. He told me that if I didn't follow his plan, if I didn't do what he told me to do, that we would never make enough money in our careers to afford to be able to start a business. And I told him, you know what, this scholarship isn't worth that to me. I would rather pay out of pocket to go to school than deal with this from you. I don't need someone telling me how to live my life and telling me that I'm a piece of trash or that, you know, everything that I'm doing is not worthwhile. And to be honest with you, then I wasn't, you know, I had a lot of self-confidence, but not nearly as much as I do now. And that was such a horrible thing to do to a person. Like looking back, if I didn't have the willpower that I possess, like there's no telling what that information would have done to me. And I just can't believe that that's the way he was treating people. And I don't want to go too much on a rant here about him because he's just not worth it. But I do want to tell you this because I've heard from a lot of people that they also experienced similar things like this when they went through college. And it's something that just shouldn't happen. And if someone's telling you these sorts of things, you need to listen to yourself. They both were just taken back. I don't think either of them had ever had anyone stand up to them that way. And the guy, he was just livid, and it was just a glorious moment. I want to let you know, it was a glorious moment in my life because both of them had been defeated, and I went on the rest of my college experience without ever receiving a single phone call or email from them ever again because they had been defeated. And one day, I will let them know how successful you and I became, even though both of them told us that we'd never amount to anything.
Yeah. You got it out.
Ooh, I could write a book about that. Oh my gosh, I've never been more pissed off in my life. No one has ever gotten under my skin more than, oh, jeez.
I'm sorry.
Well, on a happier note, that leads us to where we are today.
Yeah.
We recently passed 100,000 subscribers. which is insane.
Crazy.
Like, so yeah, a little crazy that we were able to get to 100,000 subscribers. That's thanks all to you guys, and we greatly appreciate it. Every opportunity that we've been presented with on this channel has been thanks to y'all, and honestly, thank you for helping me prove that wrong. All right? Didn't even have to cut that one in editing. Cut it myself. That's what I have to say about that. I really appreciate everything that all you guys do for us on here. I mean, truly, like, I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but simply literally just hitting the like button and like commenting and just being a part of the community, like, it helps us out tremendously, and we owe a lot to you guys. Yeah, I actually came across a few comments recently from people who have been here since like the very beginning. And I was like, crazy. How? Like, why? First of all, like, the beginning was so crazy. It was so bad. Oh. But yeah, just the dedication from people to us is mind-boggling. Really, I just don't understand it, to be honest. I'm thankful for it, but some of you guys are crazy for sticking around that long. Oh, for sure. I don't know what's wrong with you. I'm just kidding. So that's gonna wrap up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions about like specific parts of our story, leave them in the comments section below, and we either answer them there or make like a separate video about it. We were trying desperately not to make this a 24-minute video. Yeah, so that's why there's a blog with more information. And hopefully it doesn't end up being that long. But with that said, hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you. Wait, but one more thing. What? Just some advice. Okay. Like, I just want to say, if you have a passion for something, you just gotta do it. I'm for real. That's right, sister. You just gotta do it. You just gotta do it. You just gotta go for it. Jinx. You're gonna be a soda and Chick-fil-A. Bye. I'm sweating so freaking bad. Bye. Bye.